It has. It's been a radical change. You go through COVID, everything shifted online, and then now created another massive change. The old ways of assessing students just really don't work anymore. I'm designing assessments knowing that they're going to use ChatGPT. It can't just be a simple yes, no. Students are using it all the time. They could just set up an agent and do all these assignments for you. Human judgment is still going to be needed.
Today's special guest is Dr. Matt Metzgar. He is a clinical professor of economics at Belk College of Business, and he's also an author of the Overnight AI Educator, Transform Your Course in 24 Hours, which came out this last June. Matt has developed a 5-step framework that empowers college instructors to redesign an entire syllabus, assignments, and assessments in just one day. Let's welcome him into the show and hear more about this book and framework. Matt, welcome into the Insiders Career Club podcast. How are you today?
Good. Thank you for having me here, Sindy.
Well, wonderful. Why don't you start off by telling everybody a little bit about you and what you do?
Sure. I'm currently a clinical professor of economics at Charlotte, and I've been heavily researching and with the challenge of AI and assessment that a lot of other people are dealing with. And so I recently wrote a book on that, and happy to thoughts on that.
Okay, wonderful. Well, let's just jump right into it. How has AI influenced your approach to teaching economics? Because I know it's changed it a lot.
It has. It's been a radical change. It's like first you go through COVID and through that, all the shift to online, everything shifted online. And now AI's kind of created another massive change. And so, all these previous professors have been using for decades, really, the multiple choice question, if they're online, they're easily answerable by AI, GPT or whatever. It's all about, that's kind of, it affects everything else. Mm-hmm. But the assessment piece, I think, to me is the big, because the old ways of assessing students just really don't work anymore.
Oh, interesting. So what specific tools are you using in AI or platforms have you incorporated into your teaching curriculum?
Well, I think a bit of splitting between some professors are trying to hold on to those methods and have in-class multiple choice and exams and blue books and all that. And on the other side, professors like myself are going all in on the assessment to try to include AI, in other words, encourage students to use AI. So I'm designing assessments knowing that they're going to use ChatGPT. And it's a different type of assessment. But it can't just be a simple yes, no. It can't be right. It has to be a much more realistic business problem that a company is going to face, that you can use AI as a tool, but there still has to be some human judgment involved. It can't just be, 3 times 5 or whatever. So I try to design tasks that are much more realistic and have more like real data. If I can get like locally here in Charlotte, I try to do that as well. Mm-hmm. So more realistic and authentic the task, the more students can, yes, use AI as a tool, but then still have to have some contribution. They still have to have their judgment on whether to take this action or not.
Okay, so they're able to use it as research, which is something that in the work world, they'll probably be more up to speed with by the time they get there. And then they're also pulling in their own wisdom and knowledge and opinions and ideas as part of their answers, which is much different than the check this box, yes, true, false, multiple choice answers, right?
That's exactly.
Tell us about the book you wrote and why you were inspired to write it and why now.
Yeah, I feel AI really started to impact my classes in the fall of 2024. And some of those old assessments I was giving online were obviously just people were using ChatGPT students to complete. And so I spent a ton of time over that break, holiday break, to really redo a lot of my assessments and everything like that. So,
Mhm.
and then I rolled those out during the January semester and learned a lot of things. And so really at that point, I try to just share that wisdom and my experiences with professors to kind of help them move a little quicker along that curve. And
Uh,
so I just tried to a 5-step process to say, hey, look, it's not insurmountable. You can do it. You can speed fairly quick if you just kind of follow this path. So really that's what I was looking to do is say, hey, I did tried all these different things. Some things worked, some things didn't. But here's kind of a step by step that you can use if you want to get up to date with your assessment.
okay, so it's kind of like a quick start. Can you tell us what the different steps are, the 5 steps?
Yeah, the first step is, and it's funny, I should say I was just at a workshop type of conference where people were talking about this. Other groups, were coming up with these ideas, and I kept thinking, yeah, that's exactly what I was about in the book. So, I definitely don't claim that I'm the only one in the universe with this. And I think other people will come to these answers as well once they kind of think it through.
Mhm.
First step is to look at what are the current and potentially future skills that companies are looking for. We had our board of advisors at UNC Charlotte Bell College of Business come in and they say, we want students to be exposed to AI. When they work for us, we want them to already know how to do it and what to do with it, to use it properly and ethically. And
Mhm.
these are wanting students coming in with that AI fluency. So that's the first step. Say, okay, AI may have eliminated some job functions, some jobs entirely, but well, all these other normal corporate jobs exist. And so, what are specific skills that companies are looking for? AI might have changed and say, okay, before some of these stricter calculation type of positions where you're just calculating and using data analysis, there's a less demand for that, higher demand for communication, working with others, collaboration on a bigger project, a team project,
Mhm.
seeing what's out in actual current job ads. And you can use AI to do that. You can use ChatGPT search and say whatever field you're in, a biologist, a chemist, whatever. They search current job ads, come up with the top 5 or 10 skills that are common, that are in demand, and use that as a starting point. What are companies looking for? What can we then develop in students to help meet that need?
Okay.
So then once you get the skills, then it's just about building tasks for students to practice those with. So again, try to make it more realistic where whatever these skills are, it's communication or applying judgment, building those skills. That's the second step. And the third step is now you put in the teaching part. What do I, as the instructor, need to do? Resources do I need to put out there in terms of textbook information, AI models, whatever's needed to help students be successful on those tasks. And the fourth step then is once you have tasks that students are doing, you of course need to grade them, and you have to think about if you have large numbers, how much time you can spend on each one. But a lot of professors are going to try to do like base grading, so to speak, if it's a project where AI can read it and give a base grade, and then you can agree, disagree, raise it, lower it, whatever the case may be.
Mhm. Okay.
And then the fifth step is just then it's kind of you've got the whole cycle, and then the fifth step is just to kind of reflect and iterate, and then try to improve upon what went right and what went wrong, just like a normal situation there. Those 5 steps kind of encapsulate the cycle, and I do it fresh every semester or every term, whatever it is. And it really shouldn't take that long. You can use AI tools to help accelerate that process.
Well, I think, from all the things that I've read, the types of skills that I see a change in besides the technical piece, right? Current technical mastery of current systems that are kind of general, like Microsoft and computers in general, or Excel and PowerPoint or whatever. But also to have the ability to learn new software and applications. And those things are important to be able to learn and adapt and bring those into what you are currently doing, find a way to use them. So it's the soft skills too that employers are looking for, from my understanding, where they are looking for more analytical skills, not just being able to do the job, but to interpret the results that you get. That's a key piece that wasn't necessarily as high on the list before from what I've seen. And yes, the collaboration skills, the creativity, and there's a whole host of others, and there's a list of them on my website. So if you want to go check some of that out. But yeah, they're looking more for soft skills because those are the skills that they find that with the new mediums of doing Zoom classes or whatever, you're not getting the interactions, the interpersonal skills that you would have had before. They're not as honed as they would have been because you're not in a classroom setting anymore. So those are some of the things that employers are looking for.
Absolutely. Yep.
So talk a little bit about how your book helps a faculty member drastically or realistically transform a course in just 24 hours. And what does that day look like?
Yeah, you know, a lot of as part of one of my job functions last semester was to interview various professors and see, you know, how they're using AI or how they're not, so on and so forth. That, you know, a lot of professors are still skeptical about it, so to speak, and are just kind of like ignoring it and hoping it just goes away or something like that.
Mhm,
And they're trying to stay with their kind of assessment models and teaching methods that have worked for the last
mhm,
again 20, 30 years. And I think part of that's a little bit of fear as to how much work they think it would be if
mhm,
I'm going to change all stuff. And so that's why I think again, if you have a set process and you did it, worked with others in some sort of like cohort. So if you didn't want to, if a professor didn't want to do, maybe they work with two or three other professors
mhm,
and talk things through and get things rolling. It doesn't take that long of a time. I'd say one was about using AI to help find these current job skills, or you can look at even public predicting what future skills are going to be in demand, you know, like you were talking about. You
mhm,
can also use AI to build a lot of these learning resources. You know, you have like Google has audio where it can you can have text and it'll create like a podcast out of it for you, you know, AI voices and all that.
mhm.
You have video services that you can upload a few, you know, a minute of you talking and then like a script, and it'll create a video of you lecture topic, even though you never did that. And
Mm.
it can even translate you into different language. So
Wow.
I can load the script and say, here, you know, here's a script about economics, and and have me speak in Chinese, and boom, it can roll it out. In my mind, if you view it more as an opportunity, then it opens up a lot more things. And again, if you try to get into it, move quicker through a lot of things. The whole idea behind AI is to help people be more productive.
Mhm,
If you look, you know, research, it is right now helping office workers be more productive. I think it's the exact same for professors. If you open up to it, you can actually be more productive. You can produce better resources, better tasks. You can help AI can help you design tasks. You can create tasks, and it can even help you kind of think through as you do a 360 view and see what worked and what didn't.
mhm.
So in my mind, missing out if you're not using it as a tool to help you increase speed. And so that's something else I emphasize in the book.
Okay. I think the old ideas around fear and intimidation hold true. If it's something new, a lot of people don't like change. One, that's one thing. But then they might want to do it, but they don't know where to start. So that's a little bit of the fear and intimidation. And both of those things working against them kind of keep them two steps back. So hopefully they'll change their mindsets, and your book as a resource, especially for professors, I'm hoping that that the word gets out and that they will see it and be able to adapt it to their needs. That's
Absolutely. I mean, on the small end, you know, you could always, if someone was very fearful, they could just maybe one assignment, you know, open it up and say, okay, you can use AI in this assignment. It's a different assignment. Just try it. Just kind of a small step. But I think that they'd see the benefits to both the faculty and the students, and then would be more likely to change. I would say that when I taught this song, I encouraged students to use AI and all that. And on the teaching evaluations, I had a interesting student, and she said it was great to actually AI to help me learn rather than just to cheat. And see,
Ah,
they want to use it properly. They know it's a tool, and they don't want to just plug these questions, copy and paste, and give the answers. They know that's not doing anything. It's not helping them.
mhm.
So they have that desire to learn it because they know it's out there. They know companies are using it themselves for all sorts of things, and so that's what people have to just get that lane and open themselves up to it.
Yeah, I recently coached a college student that, he was coming up on his graduation, and they're very up on the technology and the use of it. And I think I'm trying to remember what his major was. It was either in finance or economics. I mean, I think he had a double major because he also minored in something else. But he's a very bright young man, and he knows the ins and outs around AI. He's not from here. He's a student in Spain, which maybe their curriculum's slightly different. But it was great to speak with him and to hear how he's approaching things and to what they're learning. And, he was very diverse. And so I think students tend to be that way. They're there to learn, they want to learn. And if you don't help them master these new skills, you're really doing them a disservice because employers are looking for the colleges to teach them how to use it so that they can bring those skills into the workforce. And I hope that more people get with it that are more instructors from high school, teachers in high school to professors. It's going to be the way of the world and it's not going away. So sticking your head in the sand isn't going to work for very long.
Yeah, I would say too, very briefly, like, as part of my project, I interviewed some students, so some graduates and some undergraduate students, and just asked them. These are former students of mine, undergrad. I'm like, how often do you use ChatGPT? And the students were like, all the time. We use it for thing. She's like, even if I'll send an email to my professor, I might run that through Chat to help me, word it a certain way. Or
Mhm.
so students are using it extensively for their own personal use or for projects, whatever. And so, it's up to us to help show them how to use it in a productive way to equip them for the work world. It's already here. Companies are using it.
So, Matt, which AI tools do you recommend that educators on a tight budget or with minimal tech experience use?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, a lot of there's issues if you're at a university as far as data protection, data handle, and so some students could use ChatGPT. Data could then be used for like training purposes, so to speak. So we have a Copilot and Gemini, and Copilot is really what indirectly based off ChatGPT. So those are already like approved for students and faculty to use. So that's built in. If you are in a situation where your university provide that, it's a little bit of a gray area because if you're going to ask students to use AI and they don't have any data protected way to do it, you're asking them to really put their data at risk. They're going to write about this and that, and then that gets stored in those models. So there has to be some leadership at the university or college level to allow and enable some. It's a great question. I really don't know if there's been a survey about what percentage of schools have sort of AI tools available for their students.
Mhm.
At least in the US, it's pretty high. I don't know that. That'd be interesting to kind of find, say how many colleges are already on board and up these tools in a safe, data protected way.
Now, how do you ensure that AI enhances student learning rather than replacing their critical thinking? You kind of answered it a little bit, but if you could expand on that just a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the key And one, to design tasks that we talked about are realistic and authentic, but two, make sure they're still of interest, so to speak, with to the students. And again, that's looking at whatever class you're teaching, what is a job path like most or many of your students are on. If you have data on that, like where do our students and what type of companies, what type of roles? Because if it's too kind of abstract, company X makes widgets or something like that, they're gonna start to lose interest in it. So I think the more realistic, the more authentic, and the more connected as a third leg to the puzzle all help make a student more likely to in a genuine way because they could say, "Oh, yeah, I understand. This might be something I'd really run into in the workplace." And so, okay, it's worth me trying it and trying to do it on my own eye rather than just dump the whole thing into AI and copy and paste the answer. I would say I did a task in the spring semester Facebook and some of their kind of pricing in Europe. They have an ad-free models like this. And I ran the whole project through ChatGPT myself to see what answer it would give. And I was surprised. I did not get any student submissions that looked like that. It's telling me that, at least from what I can tell, that they were authentically engaging with the task, but it had value and was realistic and didn't just run it through and paste it and be done with it. So I'm sure some students are going to take shortcuts and maybe just aren't interested in certain classes. That's going to happen, but you just do the best you can to make it as realistic and of a task as you can get.
When you were saying that, I was thinking how the engagement of students has changed over the years. Because a long time ago when I was in college, it's back to the multiple questions, true or false, essay type, whatever's. And we didn't think, we weren't thinking in those ways to be more engaged in the manner that you need to be today to draw students in. So I'm going to ask you a question with regard to this. Do you feel that there's a drastic change with the way that you can draw students in now as to oppose that it may have been even 10, 15 years ago? Because I think it takes more now.
Yeah, I think so. I definitely think there, is again, COVID changed a lot of things.
The attention spans.
I mean, post COVID, when students came back, it was not the same. It was not the same as prior to that. Engagement was lower, attendance was lower. Not just for me, for everybody. And so that really, I think, the limitations of strictly online education. In other words, taking the old model that you were talking about, where there was some engagement, and then just moving it totally online, where they're just answering these true false questions, whatever, kind of lowered that engagement and connection to the material for a lot of the students. In some ways, if AI, in some ways, could even make that worse because those are even more easily answerable. So I think it is. I would say one other piece when you mentioned attention span, with my assignments, they're very short. And so the max submission is usually only 1 or 2 pages. And it might sound crazy, but if you give them, write this 10, 20-page assignment, they're going to just offload that to ChatGPT. But if it's only a 1 or 2-page assignment, then they think, hey, I could do that. It's not going to climbing a mountain or something like that. It's doable with energy levels and updates and things like that. And furthermore, in business and stuff, the communication they're receiving that isn't 20 pages. If like I was saying, like in our college, no one's ever sent me a 20-page thing. It just doesn't happen, right?
No one's has the time for that.
Right. I mean, they might here's the PowerPoint slides from the meeting, but no one's saying, here, read this 20, 40-page document. So it doesn't exist in the work world. So I'm trying to, again, model, you're not going to have time or the opportunity to give this lengthy document. It's got to be short and concise and user friendly and something someone can understand. And so I think that's helped a lot as well.
Yeah. You're talking about the PowerPoint document, the rules that I have seen when people are talking, they're like No more than 9 or 10 slides. You're going to bore your audience, right? So, I mean, even at that, you think, oh, I've got this PowerPoint. I can use that. Well, nobody wants to see 20 slides. It's got to be concise, right? I also think that attention spans, because I know it's even true for myself, that social media and commercials and advertising, all this has trained us to have a shorter attention span. There's so much information, and we just kind of go from here to there. And I think once you're kind of in that and you think that way, it can't be presented in a fashion that's long and uninteresting and doesn't challenge them, because you won't reach them, is my opinion on it. Are there any ethical concerns that you consider when using AI in economic education?
There I was thinking just because you mentioned that when you were talking about attention span, I was in a conference last year. I was talking about they were trying to improve these videos that they were giving their students that were an hour-long video, and they were talking about making changes to these videos. I was like, and I hate to tell you, no one's watching these. That ship failed because a student's not gonna sit there and listen to an hour video when they can have A summarize it, or AI, or just put in AI, I need to learn about this, and AI can give it to you different ways and different formats. It can produce audio, whatever, very quickly. It's these ideas about I'm gonna put out these long videos and have students watch them. It just doesn't
Yeah.
it's not no one is watching them, but, yeah, the ethic, the concerns, I mean, there's a couple of things. I mean, one, we talked about the data protection, but two, does it kind of erode critical thinking skills? And that's just something to be aware of, and maybe the jury's somewhat still out. One of the early studies showed that when we used AI, it was actually helping them to think better, think more critically about the material. Now, I've seen a couple other studies that didn't agree with that, so it might take some years to really, get to a firm conclusion.
Mhm.
Uh, so ethically, you just have to be, well, I'd say, you have to wonder, is that student, they're paying tuition, are they really learning in a genuine way and not just be able to push a lot of this through and still pass classes and get grades and graduate? You still want to make sure there's value for the student. It may take some time to see as these students graduate and go into the workforce, do they have deficits? Are they able to perform well? See, sift out how much learning and how much of it's sticking. But again, I think overall it's a positive. The way I think of it is, if you believe as a professor that, okay, the student's interacting with you and you're an expert on this subject, case economics, that if they talk with me and interact with me, right, that they'll learn and their understanding will increase. Well, as ChatGPT is near PhD level in of these subjects, if they can interact with ChatGPT in a good way, ask questions and go back and forth, it's the same thing as with the teacher. So their level of understanding should increase there as well. And so that's where, used in the right way, it should facilitate genuine learning.
I want to talk about your background. So, what initially drew you to the field of economics, and how has your perspective of it evolved over the years?
Oh, good question. I was probably late to economics. I somehow avoided it as an undergrad. I was an education major, so I knew I wanted to teach. But after I finished my undergrad, I went and started my MBA, and that's when I finally took an economics class, and I really enjoyed it, and I felt like I really understood it. It was good at it, so I thought, okay, well, I'll kind of continue with that, and so then I got a PhD in economics. But I'd say, well, I'll put it this way: the good thing about economics is it helped me think clear, forced me to think clearly, and that led to not only just economics, but then applying those kind of principles and ways of thinking to other things. And
Okay.
so I feel like it's been a lot of benefit for me outside of just, supply and demand or something like that. So I wouldn't really feel like my understanding has really changed that much, to be honest, because I felt when I finished like my PhD, I had a firm understanding of all the principles, and like principles don't change over time. The way markets work and supply and demand, all that's the same. And so I'm still able to kind of where I still analyze things in a very similar way as I did
Mm,
before. And
okay.
so that's a good thing.
Okay. Okay. I think that's about the end of my questions. Why don't you, is your book just recently came out, right? And was it in May or June?
It was early June, yes.
Okay. And where can anyone find your book?
Yeah, it's on Amazon and or the website tonight.education is the website where I kind of link to some podcasts and a link to the book there. But if you just go on Amazon and look Overnight AI Educator, it's in there as well.
Okay.
And so yeah, I've been happy with that. Just one you didn't ask, but I think maybe an interesting question. This was just came from that I was that last week was talking about what's going to be the future or how is AI going to change over the 5 or 10 years and how's that going to impact things.
Mhm.
And at this conference, they talked about this and it really, I think is important. But just I think last week, ChatGPT came out with agents. And so I'm not sure if you're with agents.
Agents. Okay. Sounds like you said something different, and I want to be clear.
Right. I'm not sure if you're familiar with agents,
I
right?
think I heard about it. It's something you can set up, right? That is catering to what it's just like an agent that we used in when I was in recruiting. You set up these tools so that you don't always have to go search the database. You can set something up and it will send you the resumes you're looking for. So I'm assuming it's similar.
Yes, yes. And so it came out with these agents and it showed, especially if you have an online class or like an asynchronous class, you can set up an agent now really take that class or do all these assignments for you. And it was amazing that where you just tell the agent what to do, and now it can log into like websites. It can click on assignments, it can open assignments, it can fill out assignments, it can submit
Mhm.
assignments. It can do all this just from one prompt. I mean, it's amazing. And so I think it's if you're teaching online, you really have to be aware of this, that it now exists. It's not theoretical anymore, it's already out there.
Yeah.
That a student could just set up an agent and say, log and do all these assignments for me. And they could shut the computer and take a walk and come back and it's done.
Wow.
And it will increase, it will actually get more powerful as the next step will be not just one agent, but you can have a team of agents working on this. And you can have now agents work over a project long term. And so
Mm.
that will be even more like from a teaching standpoint, because you could say, I have this 4 month course and I as the agent to keep tabs on it and log in once a week and check and do the assignments and do the discussions
Mhm.
and keep up over time with that. And so it's a real concern. I'm concerned about it. That
Yeah.
someone could just check out on day one, set up an agent and back on the last day of class and have done absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's the kind of thing that a lot of people are concerned about when they heard about ChatGPT, what it might do, or how people might use it. But I think that if it is stressed to students that, yeah, you could do that, but you're actually cheating yourself. You're robbing yourself of the experience and the knowledge that you'll get by participating and doing this. You're doing this yourself. And I think if students are coached from that perspective, I think maybe they won't use it so much. Or even if they do it, maybe they'll try doing some of it themselves, because that really it is cheating yourself. It's robbing yourself of the rich experience that you get from trying to do some of these exercises and learning. And that's why you're there.
Absolutely. I agree. I think it is going to take an emphasis, like you said, on the get the right mindset because like the ability to police AI and all that, it's just not going to be,
That's
you
not
know, upgrading the pool. Yeah, it's not going to work.
gonna
So
work.
you got to start on the other end and kind of value that they're going to get by going through the course and learning and building up, experience.
It'll be interesting to hear if your conference had anything. It's great to talk about where it might be in 10 years, but at the rate that AI is using daily, second by second, when people put a prompt in, it's kind of hard to predict. what were the thoughts of individuals that were looking to the future, besides just saying it's going to come up with agents, but what do they think it's going to actually do or look like? What were their projections?
Yeah, a lot of it was. I remember some reading a bit. They think they call it like the 2 day work week. That they believe that AI is so productive that you can really do a normal amount of work in 2 days, and that people work 2 days a week. Now, is that true? I don't. We'll see.
Yeah, right.
I'm not sure.
I'm getting to the 4-day work week, right?
My fear is if you can do all this work in 2 days, then they'll just give you twice as much work, right?
Yeah, exactly. And there'll be fewer people doing it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And then the other part, a lot of people just believe these things are just going to be autonomous, that a lot of systems are going to be run fully by with less or no human input into it. A lot of companies are going to have no human workers at all at any level. Companies will be entirely run by AI, and it'll just serve as almost like passive income for like an owner. So, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't see the world getting rid of people because, what are we going to do? What's the human race going to do? I don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. I plan on being around. I'm kind of glad I'm not in the work world with all the changes that are happening. But for those that are, you need to equip yourself to stay viable and be able to make and earn a good living for yourself. And in order to do that, you have to expand your horizons and be adept at the proper tools that are available. And I know that some people will have to reposition themselves and pivot because their jobs may go away, or they'll be lessened to the extent that they don't want to do it. So, there are new jobs that are coming on the horizon because of AI, like the prompt engineer, like all these different, software engineers will still be around. Coders, maybe not so much. But the people that are actually creating these things and thinking of what the next steps are with it, those people will be around. So creativity is really going to be a skill that people are looking for as part of every job. And there are new jobs coming on the forefront, but others will be leaving. And I mean, that's okay. People are still valuable. You still have skills, and you can find something that will work for you for a career. Is my feeling about it. Well, Matt, it's been my pleasure to speak with you. It looks like I cut you off a little bit. Is there something else you want to say?
Well, one last thing, I would just say from a positive standpoint, a few economists that wrote a couple books about how AI is going to impact things, but end on a more positive note, they believe that human judgment is still going to be needed and valued no matter what happens going. So that, whatever this company is trying to do, if you're trying to open a new bank branch and you're trying to figure out it, now you could run it through a million AI models, but some person is going to have to sign off on that. Someone's going to have to say yes, and someone's decision say, okay, yes, we're going to put this bank branch here, and then it either does well or not. So you can't just say, well, the model told us to put it here and the model was wrong. That's not good.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So some human judgment still has to be done for most things.
Yeah.
And therefore, what these authors talked about trying to cultivate in students and in employees is saying, okay, all the models and all the power at your disposal to analyze this, but still someone has to judgment whether we should do this or not do this, or price it, price of that, whatever the situation. Some person still has to pull the trigger. So
Yeah.
I think that'll remain.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Well, Matt, it has been my pleasure. Thank you for joining us on this podcast. And I'd like you to say your website one more time and the name of your book one more time so people can go out and find it.
Sure. It's the Overnight AI Educator, how to transform your course in 24 hours. And the website is overnight.education.
All right. Well, Matt, thank you so much for joining me. Take care.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Bye-bye. Hey, Insider family. It's Sindy again, and I wanted to thank you for tuning in to Season 5 of the Insiders Career Club podcast. I am very grateful for your support, and I really hope that you enjoyed the amazing guests that we had this season. This episode marks the close of Season 5. But if you missed any of the episodes along the way, you can catch up anytime on Apple, on YouTube for the video podcasts, which is this season only. Next season will also be video on YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, Pandora, and all of the major platforms. In the meantime, I'm going to keep sharing timely career insights with you on LinkedIn. If we're not already connected there, let's connect. Send me an invite so we can stay in touch, okay? Season 6 is going to kick off in February 2026. And I really can't wait. I've got some great guests I've already recorded. So I'm looking forward to it, and I hope you do too. Until then, let's stay tuned. Keep an eye out. Watch for my posts because there will be some. And let's stay connected. Much gratitude for your support this year, for this season. Take care.